Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP's mother-in-law tries to make her quit her job. Am I the jerk for what I said to my husband's mom after she demanded I quit my job? I'm due to give birth next month. I work in logistics for a large company and I manage everything remotely. It's a high-pressure job, but I love it, and I've been able to work from home throughout my pregnancy. I'm the main breadwinner in our household, and we've been doing fine financially, with the plan that I'll take a short leave and return to the office about a month after the baby's born. We've already interviewed a few nannies, and we plan to hire someone to help out during the day so I can focus on work. My husband works as a warehouse manager. He works hard, and I'm proud of him, but he doesn't make as much as I do. That's never been a problem between us, or at least I didn't think it was. A few nights ago, his mom came over for dinner. She's never been subtle about her opinions, especially when it comes to how women should put their families first. I usually just let her comments roll off, but this time things went way too far. We were all sitting down eating when she randomly said something like, "Things are really going to change once you quit work and start raising the baby properly." I thought I misheard her. I said, "What do you mean, quit work?" She looked surprised and said, "Well, you won't be able to work anymore once the baby is here, obviously." I looked over at my husband and he didn't say anything. He just looked uncomfortable. I told her that I'm not quitting my job, that we've already made arrangements for a nanny during the day, and I plan to return to work. She started going on about how that was ridiculous, how expensive it is to hire help, and how babies need their mothers. Then she said it was selfish to choose a job over your child. I looked at my husband again, and he still said nothing, just sat there quietly. I told her that this wasn't her decision, and that she doesn't get to make choices for our family. She shot back with, "My son and grandson are my family." That's when I lost it. I said, "No, your family was the husband who left you for a younger woman, and the son who's so afraid of you that he lets you walk all over him." She got quiet. Then she just stood up and left without saying another word. Shut down. The second the door closed, I turned to my husband and asked if he had told her I was quitting my job. He admitted that she had brought it up a few times, and he just went along with it to avoid conflict. He said he didn't want to argue with her and figured it wasn't worth the fight. I told him that keeping the peace by enabling a lie isn't really peace, that he needs to start being direct with his mother, because it shouldn't fall on me to constantly push back every time she oversteps. He said he tries, but she's just always like this, always thinks she knows better. He said he hates arguing, especially with her, because it never goes anywhere. I told him maybe it's time to stop letting her be so involved, that we don't keep people around out of duty. We keep people in our lives because they bring encouragement and love, not because we feel like we owe them something. I said maybe it's time we cut contact for a while and focused on our own household instead. He got quiet for a while and then said something that really threw me off. He said, "She did have a point though. Maybe the baby would be better off if you quit." I just stared at him. I reminded him that we rely on my income and that I've worked hard to build a career that I'm proud of, and that I don't want to give it up. Not because I don't care about our child, but because I believe we can do both. Plenty of parents work and raise great kids. He didn't say much after that. He just shut down. Later that night, he told me I didn't have to go that hard on his mom, that I crossed a line. I told him he can let her walk all over him if he wants, but I'm not afraid of her, and I won't let her talk to me like that. It's not the first time she's made comments like this, but this time it felt different. She wasn't just insulting me anymore. She was trying to control how we raise our child, and that's a line I won't let her cross. The rest of the night was tense and quiet. I've been thinking about it for days, and now I'm wondering, did I go too far? Am I the jerk for what I said to her? Not the jerk. You didn't snap. You set a boundary with someone who clearly needed it spelled out. Your mother-in-law acting like your uterus came with a resignation letter is wild. And your husband might hate conflict, but letting his mom build her own version of reality doesn't make things peaceful, just delayed. You're not wrong for standing up when no one else would. You're the jerk, not for setting boundaries, but for going nuclear with a deeply personal insult that had nothing to do with the conversation. You had every right to stand up for yourself, But dragging your mother-in-law's past into it was petty and unnecessary. You don't get points for being right when you blow everything up just to make a point louder. Mother-in-law thought she was getting a second chance at controlling a family of her own. And the husband? He needs a repair. His mute button seems to be stuck in the on position. OP didn't overreact. She told it like it is. And mother-in-law finally got a dose of reality handed right to her. That dose of reality was long overdue. Some people just keep being rude and controlling until one day they wake up and realize that the reason people don't like them is because they really suck and they need to change. My boyfriend has been collecting my rent for a free house. He's 28 and I'm 24. When my boyfriend and I moved in together, I thought it was one of those milestones that meant we were serious. I was in grad school, balancing a research job and part-time tutoring to get by. He had a stable salary in tech. Not rich, but comfortable. When he said he had found a nice house for us to rent, it felt like our little start to something real. He handled all of the arrangements. He said the landlord preferred rent through direct deposit, and all I needed to do was transfer my half every month, $1,000, to the landlord's bank account. The house was clean, quiet, close to campus, and it had a small garden that I fell in love with. It felt like home. For a year, I paid that rent religiously. Sometimes it meant skipping dinners out with friends or putting off new tires when my old ones were bald. He never seemed to struggle financially though. He'd take me out, surprise me with little things, even offer to help when I was short on cash. I thought that was love and him swooping in to take care of me. Then one night, it all cracked open. We were visiting his parents for dinner, something we did maybe once every 2 months. His mom and I got along well enough. We were clearing the table when she asked casually how we liked living in their house. I paused, then said, "Your house?" She nodded. "Oh yes, we're just glad someone's taking care of it while it's sitting empty. It's a good thing you two didn't have to pay rent on top of everything else right now." I don't remember much after that, just the rush of heat in my ears and the strange ringing sound that took over. I smiled and nodded, pretending I knew what she was talking about. But inside, I felt something cold slide down my spine. When we got home, I asked him about it. He looked me dead in the eye and said, calm as ever, that he had been saving the rent money for me. That he wanted to surprise me one day with a lump sum to show me how much I'd saved. He said it like he had done me a favor. I asked where the money was, and he got defensive. Said he didn't want me taking it and leaving him while I was angry. Said I owed him anyway for the times he's helped me out. That night, I didn't sleep. I just laid there thinking about every month I'd transferred that money, all the times I'd said no to small things that I wanted, all the stress I'd felt juggling school and bills while he sat there, watching me struggle, collecting it like some kind of twisted test. By morning, I couldn't look at him the same way. Now, I don't know what to do. I feel upset and uncomfortable about the whole situation, but my boyfriend won't listen to me. He keeps saying that this was supposed to be a surprise gift and I'm taking it the wrong way. I don't know what to think. Am I overreacting? Edit, to clarify that his parents didn't seem to know anything about this and were under the impression that neither of us was paying rent. You are not overreacting. This is a huge betrayal. He didn't save that money for you. He stole it, lied about it, and manipulated you into feeling dependent on him. He treated you like a child he needed to teach a lesson, not a partner. Get your money back and get out. Oh no, honey. There are so many red flags, it looks like a parade. He didn't save anything for you. He wanted control. The fact that he refused to give it back when you asked proves it. You need to move out now. And yes, you can absolutely take him to small claims court for that money. Update. After that night, things between us were unbearable. He kept trying to smooth it over, acting like I was overreacting, calling it a misunderstanding. But every time I looked at him, I saw someone who could lie so easily, it scared me. I told him I was moving out. He laughed at first, said if I left, he was keeping the money because it was meant to be a gift, and gifts don't get returned. I told him I didn't care. Then I called his mom. I told her the truth, how he had been collecting my share of the rent and pretending to send it to a landlord. There was silence on the other end at first. Then she said she'd call me back. I could hear her yelling before she even hung up. An hour later, she texted me. She asked me to take photos of the house, every room, every angle, and send them to her. I did. She texted back with a simple thank you. I packed my things and I left that night. I stayed with a friend until I could find a small studio. A few days later, an envelope arrived in the mail with a return address I recognized. Inside was a check for $15,000 and a short note that said, "I'm so sorry for what he did. Please don't let this make you lose faith in people." I cried harder reading that note than I did the day I left him. His mom sounds like a legend. She saw through his nonsense immediately and made it right. You didn't just dodge a bullet, you dodged a missile. Update 2. It's been 6 months. I'm in my own place now. It's small, but it's mine. The rent comes straight out of my own account every month, and that simple act feels freeing in a way I never expected. I haven't heard from him since. His mom reached out once more to make sure I was okay, and I thanked her, but told her I needed space from everything tied to that chapter. She understood. The first few weeks after I left, I kept wondering how I missed it, how I didn't notice the signs, the way he'd avoid talking about bills, how he always wanted control of our finances, how he made me feel small when I asked questions. I thought love meant trust. Now I know it also means transparency. I've started seeing someone new. We're taking it slow. No rushing into living together, no shared accounts, no pretending that trust can replace accountability. I'm happy again. I even started painting again, something I stopped doing during that relationship because I never had the energy or money for supplies. Sometimes I still think about that year and how easily someone can twist something as simple as love into power. But mostly, I think about the relief I felt walking out that door. I think about the check from his mom, and to me, it wasn't just money. It was proof that walking away was the right call. You handled this well. It takes strength to walk away from someone who's made you doubt your own judgment. You trusted your gut, and that's what saved you. So this guy tricked his girlfriend into paying fake rent just to make himself feel important? Yeah, then he acted like he was doing her a favor. That's not love. That's a scam with candles. Lucky for her, his mom had better morals. $15,000 saved and a life lesson? I'd call that a happy eviction. My employee is passing off ChatGPT lists as his own ideas. I've been in design and research for a long time, long enough to know when someone's trying to get credit for something they barely understand. My team is made up of engineers who are sharp, creative, and usually respectful of the process. Then there's Dan. He's only been in the field for 2 years, and you can tell he believes that confidence is a substitute for skill. He joined our group not long ago and immediately started acting like he was the hidden genius everyone had been missing. He'd roll into meetings late, half listening, and when people shared their progress, he'd interrupt with vague buzzwords and half-baked advice. He wasn't rude exactly, just out of touch, like he thought being the idea guy made up for never actually doing the legwork. One day we were reviewing a new feature design. The team was discussing ways to automate a process that's been notoriously tricky to streamline. It was a good meeting. Everyone was contributing and building off each other's points. Then near the end, Dan jumped in with his usual tone of forced brilliance. He said he had a list of ideas that would solve the problem entirely. I asked him to share them, but he said he'd send them after the meeting. I figured he was being cautious, maybe wanted to polish the details. Fair enough. Later that afternoon, he emailed me. Attached was a screenshot. No table, no notes, just a block of text copied straight from ChatGPT. The kind of generic list you get if you type, "Give me innovative ideas to improve automation." At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe he meant to send a draft and would follow up with his real notes. But no, that was it. When I asked him to explain a few of the terms on the list, he said, "Oh, I'd have to look those up." That's when it hit me. He'd been sitting there in the meeting typing into ChatGPT, generating a list and passing it off as his personal research. I didn't even know what to say. I'm not anti-AI. It's a great tool when used correctly. But this was like someone printing out a Wikipedia page and claiming that they wrote it. Instead of calling him out, I stayed calm. I told him the list was a start, but that I needed him to go deeper. I asked him to build a table comparing the ideas, breaking down feasibility, cost, and performance. That's the part that separates real engineers from people who just like to talk big. His expression said it all. He hadn't planned on doing any of that. Over the next few weeks, I kept an eye on him. He started dropping more of these so-called ideas into our meetings. The team was polite, but I could tell everyone was starting to notice that his original insights sounded suspiciously like random tech headlines stitched together. It was becoming a pattern. He'd make a big show of having researched something, but he couldn't answer the simplest questions about it. As we integrate ChatGPT more into our web searches, I can see this happening more and more. I was wondering how to approach this in the future. When people put their hands up in meetings, do I have to ask for their sources first? I can't believe he thought nobody would notice. It's one thing to use ChatGPT for brainstorming, but pretending it's your original work while not understanding a single word of it is wild. You handled it perfectly. Let him dig his own hole with that table assignment. This is exactly why I tell my junior team members that ChatGPT is a tool, not a crutch. The second you stop thinking for yourself, you lose what makes you valuable as an engineer. Dan just wanted shortcuts and praise without putting in the hours. Update. It's been more than a year since that first post, and oh boy, Dan didn't change. After that first ChatGPT stunt, I had another talk with him. I explained how he could use AI results as a starting point, but that I expected him to actually analyze and understand them before presenting anything. He nodded, said he understood, and went back to doing the exact same thing. He even got bolder about it. In one meeting, he started pitching a list of new innovations that were clearly straight from ChatGPT again. He was copying and pasting them while we were talking. Then something strange happened. My boss, who's a bit older and not the most tech-savvy, pulled me aside one day. He said he was impressed by Dan's out-of-the-box thinking and wanted me to let him lead part of a new project. I almost laughed out loud. Instead, I asked him to show me the list that Dan had pitched. And sure enough, it was another ChatGPT dump, full of buzzwords, half of them out of scope for what we were even working on. My boss asked me to investigate, so I did. I told Dan to walk me through his ideas. Within 10 minutes, it was obvious he had no clue what he was talking about. He had wasted 2 full weeks chasing these innovations, and none of them were remotely viable. 2 weeks gone because he couldn't be bothered to think for himself. I was tired. Dan wasn't my direct report, and his actual manager didn't see a problem. At that point, it wasn't about technology anymore. It was about laziness. You can't fix that with software. That was also around the time I realized I was done with that company. It wasn't just Dan. The place was losing direction, rewarding people who looked busy instead of those who did real work. So I started interviewing. It took months, but eventually I landed something incredible. A research position at a big tech firm known for its innovation and strict ethics. They actually block AI tools entirely because of data security, which at first I thought would be limiting, but it turned out to be refreshing. People here are brilliant, focused, motivated, the kind who think before they talk and research before they present. Half my time now is spent reminding them to take breaks and zoom out from the details. It's a good problem to have. Looking back, I'm almost grateful for Dan. He reminded me what it looks like when someone confuses shortcuts for intelligence. I've learned that tools like ChatGPT can't replace curiosity or critical thinking, and that the people who try to fake it will always give themselves away. This might be the most accurate summary of modern workplace problems I've ever read. Everyone wants the quick win without understanding the craft. Good on you for getting out before that culture dragged you down. Dan represents every person who thinks ChatGPT is a personality trait. You can't fake competence forever, especially in technical fields. Glad to hear you landed somewhere that values real talent. So Dan really showed up to work, copied a ChatGPT list, and called it innovation. He basically turned copy-paste into a career strategy. Bold move, Dan. I guess he figured if the ideas sound smart, no one would notice that he wasn't. Joke's on him. Even ChatGPT couldn't back up his nonsense. Should have asked it for career advice instead. Daycare manager messed with the wrong office parking. When my partner and I opened our small company, we didn't expect parking spaces to become the hill someone would choose to die on. We lease half of a low-rise building beside a park, and the only other tenant is a daycare. Our office isn't huge, just 8 people total, but we do need space. Our company consists almost exclusively of higher-level professionals, a couple lawyers, CPAs, etc. So we've got individual offices, 2 conference rooms, and a kitchen. Because of the square footage, our lease includes every single parking space in the back lot, 24 slots in total, and it's written clearly in black and white. The daycare only has about 10 spaces in front. For years, their staff and parents quietly overflowed into our lot during drop-off and pickup. It never bothered me. We used maybe 8 spaces on a busy day, and seeing the little kids skipping to class in the mornings was kind of nice. That goodwill lasted until the morning I came in late. The lot looked like a circus. Parents double-parked, kids darting between cars, horns honking. With our own spaces packed full of minivans, I figured I'd park in the daycare's nearly empty front lot for once. Fair's fair, right? First day, nothing happened. Second day, I noticed the daycare manager watching me from the door, arms crossed like she was guarding the gates of Fort Knox. A week later, I parked there again. This time, my old blue truck was gone when I came out. Towed without warning. No conversation, just gone. I went inside to clear things up, thinking it had to be a mistake. The manager came out, all business and no warmth. She told me flatly that it wasn't a mistake. According to her, the daycare couldn't have random adults in their lot. That parents didn't want to walk further, and that I should really park in the back where I belong. Then she looked me up and down like I'd just crawled out from under a bridge. It cost me $600 to get my truck back. A few days later, I tried to be civil. I told her she could have at least spoken to me first, maybe warned me before having the truck hauled off. I said I didn't mind parents using our lot, but it would be nice if she let me use the front occasionally when the timing overlapped. She gave me the same tight smile and said no. Word for word, the same line about liability. At that point, the gloves were off. I didn't yell or threaten, I just stopped being nice. I called the building owner and told him we needed to secure our parking lot for compliance reasons. A small fib, but believable. I told him we'd cover the cost and it wouldn't affect anyone else's lease. He approved it the same day. 2 weeks later, we had a brand new automated gate installed, complete with keycard entry and license plate access. That first morning, I came in early, coffee in hand, and parked by the window with a perfect view of the gate. The chaos that followed was beautiful. Daycare staff pulled up, pressed every button on the keypad, and waved their arms at the sensor like it would magically open. Then came the parents. Their small lot filled up in minutes. Cars started backing up into the street. Parents double-parked while trying to wrangle toddlers out of the car seats. Some ended up parking across the park, trudging through the grass with diaper bags and crying kids. Through the glass, I saw the manager marching around, red in the face. At one point, she looked straight at me through the window. I smiled and waved, but she didn't wave back. Later that day, the building owner forwarded me an angry email from her. She demanded equal parking access, said it was unfair for one small office to take the whole lot, and tried to claim she didn't know our lease covered it. The owner was confused himself, but said we'd discuss it in the future. He didn't seem too bothered though, probably because we're good tenants who always pay on time. The daycare manager hasn't spoken to me since. She still glares from across the property sometimes, but that gate isn't going anywhere. We've got 2 years left on our lease, plus the option to extend for 5 more. And every morning as I drive through the gate and watch her directing traffic like a furious crossing guard, I can't help but think, maybe now she understands what reserved really means. P.S. The building sits beside a park and a few residential homes, so nobody's in danger. The new walk to the daycare is just a short stretch across the grass and playground, and there's no street to cross. Honestly, it might even give the kids a bit of fresh air before class. I'm not sure the employees can park in that lot for long though. That Karen daycare manager really played a dumb game and won the dumbest prize. She could have had unlimited free parking just by being polite. Instead, she towed the wrong guy and ended up running a daily traffic jam out front. Poetic justice. It's amazing how quickly some people forget basic respect when they think they have authority. All she had to do was talk to him like a normal person, and instead she turned it into a power struggle over a few parking spots. So the daycare manager basically said, "You can't park here," and the office guy said, "Watch me install a gate." That's what happens when you mess with someone who actually read the lease. Yup, she went from towing cars to directing traffic in a panic. I bet she's still out there with a clipboard, wondering how her own parking lot turned into a war zone. Entitled mom demands disabled seat, then misses her flight train. This happened earlier today, and it's one of those stories where karma basically does all the work for you. So for context, my local train runs as one big route for most of the time. Then near the end, it splits into two. The front half keeps going to the airport, the back half continues toward the suburbs. I take the suburbs part every day, so I know the system by heart. Since it's the holiday season, there are always tons of people with suitcases. Half of them are travelers trying to catch a flight and have no idea the train splits. I usually help them out when I can. You can spot them a mile away. They've got that lost but pretending not to be lost look. Anyway, today I got on my usual section, sat down in the disabled seat near the door. I've got a bad limp in my right leg, so those seats make things easier when I get on and off. I was listening to music, minding my own business, until this big family came through. Mom, dad, 2 kids, and what looked like a tired grandmother. They were dragging bags, arguing about whether the train went to the airport or not. The mom was the loudest one, insisting everyone else was wrong and that she knew what she was doing. The dad looked like he'd given up on life. They started walking down the aisle looking for seats and stopped right in front of me. The mom looked me up and down and told me to move, said something about this being a family area and that I shouldn't be sitting there. There's a giant blue sticker right next to my head showing that it's the disabled section, not a family one. But fine, I didn't feel like getting into it, so I just stood up and moved a couple rows over. She didn't stop there though. While I was walking away, she started talking loud enough for everyone to hear. Stuff like how rude people are these days, and how some of us should leave those seats for folks who actually need them. Her husband looked uncomfortable. Then he quietly said something to her, probably pointing out my limp. She turned, saw me sitting down again, and gave this tight fake smile like she was chewing on vinegar. Mumbled a half apology, but I ignored her. The rest of the family sat down around her, blocking the aisle with all their bags. The dad tried to keep things calm. The grandma looked like she regretted her life choices, and the kids were fighting over snacks. A few stops later, the announcer came on about how the front half goes to the airport, the back half, our half, goes to the suburbs. I've heard this speech 1,000 times. Usually people with luggage start panicking and rush to move up. I was watching out of the corner of my eye. The husband immediately looked at his wife like, "Hey, is this the right train?" She brushed him off, said she already knew. Total confidence. The guy still looked nervous, but he stayed quiet. When the split point came, the announcer repeated, and louder this time. Doors opened, people switched cars, and this family just sat there like they were above directions. Then the train pulled away and started heading toward the suburbs. That's when it hit them. The dad asked another passenger, who confirmed they were in the wrong half. The mom's face went blank. Then she started blaming him, said he should have double-checked, even though she was the one yelling at everyone 10 minutes ago. She pressed the intercom asking if they could stop the train, which obviously isn't how trains work. The dad tried calming her down while the kids complained and the grandma just sighed like she had seen this movie before. When we hit the next stop, they all got off, dragging all their luggage and looking defeated. The mom avoided eye contact. The dad gave me this small, embarrassed nod, and the rest of the passengers just kind of sat there hiding their amusement. They'd missed the last station where they could have switched to the airport half, so now they'd have to backtrack, probably miss their flight. I sat back down in my original seat. Didn't say a word, didn't smile too obviously, but man, it was satisfying. Not in a cruel way, just in that you get what you deserve kind of way. She spent the whole ride talking down to people, making a scene, acting like she owned the place, and the universe just handed her a little reality check. No yelling needed from me. When the train rolled on, I got my headphones back in, and I just watched the world go by. It felt pretty good knowing that sometimes you don't have to do a thing. Karma's got perfect timing. So she kicked a disabled guy out of his seat, and she ended up missing her flight? That sounds like karma to me. Yeah, some people buy tickets. She bought consequences. Am I the jerk for telling my husband we need to buy our daughter a new car? Plus updates and shocking ending. The husband posted first, asking, "Am I the jerk for telling my daughter I won't budge even if she never speaks to me again?" My daughter, Casey, who's 17, worked and saved up money for around a year to be able to afford a better car than we could buy for her with our family budget. My other daughter, Alana, who's 16 and has ADHD, recently got her driver's license and asked to drive Casey's car. Casey allowed it, but Alana ended up having a bad accident around 6 months ago, which basically rendered the car unusable. The insurance payout wasn't nearly enough to cover the replacement, and with Alana's medical bills from the accident, thankfully there was no permanent damage, just a broken arm and leg, there was no way we could afford to replace Casey's car immediately. Alana was very apologetic to Casey, and so were we, since we couldn't afford to replace our car. Casey didn't accept our apology and has been basically avoiding us, skipping family dinners, and pretty much pretending that her mom, Alana, and I don't even exist, and only talks to us if she needs a form signed for school. I begged her to come to a family therapy session, and she eventually relented, but with the condition that Alana wouldn't be present. In the therapy session, she told us that she won't be resuming a relationship with us until we replace her car, which realistically won't be until next year. When the therapist asked how she expected us to do that, Casey said that we could just make Alana work to earn the money. The issue with Alana is that she has severe ADHD and already has trouble managing her schoolwork. I'm worried that making her work to earn the money will harm her grades and have significant ramifications for her future. Casey said, "Well, she should have thought about that before destroying my car. I don't care. I'm not going to speak to any of you unless I have my car replaced." I responded that she was free to avoid speaking to me for as long as she wanted to, but I'm not going to permanently harm her sister's future to get her a car earlier. My wife agrees with me that we need to stand firm in our decision, but she is also genuinely afraid of Casey never speaking to her again. I understand that her car was ruined, but I, as a parent, need to look out for all my kids, not just one. I also don't want to set the precedent that emotional blackmail will work, even if what you're asking for is unreasonable. Am I the jerk? Then his wife posted her version of the story. I, 39 female, and my husband, 43 male, have 2 daughters, Alana, who's 16, and Casey, who's 17. Casey has held down a steady job for over a year now and was able to get herself a car. She got this car right as Alana passed her own driver's test, so there was a little issue between who was going to be driving. After a little persuasion, Casey did allow Alana to use her car so long as somebody else paid for gas. We told her that wasn't going to cut it. Alana doesn't have the money for that, and it's her car, her responsibility to keep gas in it and keep it on the road. Here's where it gets difficult. Alana wrecked about a month ago. Luckily, she was okay, but Casey was fuming the entire time and seemed to have this expectation that we would be replacing her car. Her and my husband got into it, and she threw her arms up like a child and just stopped speaking to us. We coaxed her into going to family therapy with us, though it wasn't productive, as she and the therapist agreed that it would be best to maintain the reduced contact until she's paid back. Here's the problem. That car was 15 grand. She saved up every penny for a year for that car. She'd ask us about twice a week if we changed our mind, and obviously the answer was no, but that was the only thing she'd say to us. It didn't seem to bother my husband, and he kept saying she'll get over it until last week. She packed some things and had my mother come and get her. She's been staying at her grandmother's for a little over a week now, and she gave me a good earful. Whatever Casey told her worked, because earlier today, my husband and I were informed we had 30 days to replace the car in full or she was taking us to court. I think my husband is admirable in wanting to stand his ground, but the way I'm looking at it, we have 2 options, and I'm sick of my daughter not talking to me because of crap that's not my fault. Alana has been in a wreck, she's already battling severe ADHD, and now she's shaking at the thought of having to appear in court. So I set them both down and said we have 2 options. We can get over it, pay $15,000, and have our daughter and sister back, and Alana will just have to get over it and work. Or we can let my dad sue my husband and I on Casey's behalf and almost certainly lose. We spoke to 4 different firms, and all 4 echoed similar sentiment, that it would probably cost us close to triple in the end to bring it to court and fight it there. So that's when I told my husband I'm not going 30 grand further into debt for him to hold the pettiest grudge. He's saying that I'm being manipulative by holding this whole situation over his and Alana's heads. I'm not saying it's not partly my fault. All I said was that no matter what, at the end of the day, we owe Casey and he needs to just accept that. We can afford $15,000 to replace the car, but if we have to dish out double that, just to lose in court anyway, I'm divorcing him before he makes that mistake. In either case, I'm done not supporting both of my daughters. We tried reasoning with Casey and it's resulted in nothing. We lost this one. Am I the jerk for telling my husband to just accept it? I feel I may be, just for how long I was being a passenger in the situation and for threatening my husband with divorce. I don't think we did anything that wrong, but I'm willing to admit when we made some mistakes and we have to make up for it somehow. Update. I went to therapy as a lot of you suggested, and I was assessed with a diagnosis for obsessive-compulsive disorder in my second session. And in my third session, we discussed the whole car situation, and my personal therapist explained it to me in a way that made it hard to not feel awful for Casey. The discussion we had covered quite a lot, but the common denominator in everything that's been going wrong has in large part been my husband. He's the reason Casey shared her car. He's the reason Alana got hurt driving on her own, and he's the reason we're set for court in barely a week and still don't have an attorney. And me, I don't know what I've been doing, but it hasn't been being a mother. One of you asked me straight up why I was being a passenger, and I just don't have a good answer. I let my parents know about the divorce, and they were a little concerned, but what I didn't expect was for Casey to reach out. The last time we talked was mostly her and my husband butting heads. I really thought she'd be upset with me, but I've never heard her cry like that. At least not since she was much younger. I make a little bit more than my husband, but finding an apartment was brutal, especially with Alana wanting to come with me. I don't think I was clear enough about how badly I want to pay Casey back before, but I do. Most of my money is in joint savings though, so there isn't much I can afford, but my husband wasn't going to back down. I won't lie, I was selfish. I begged Casey to drop my name from this suit. I told her I would pay what I could afford to right this second, which wasn't much in comparison. And she told me that it wasn't so much the car or the value on its own she wanted back. It was the security to have something of her own, and she listed off probably dozens of instances where Alana got first pick over her, and it was very hard to refute. She told me that losing that much money sucked, which I fully understand, but the bigger loss to her was that her first big girl purchase, which a lot of friends and family were excited about, was now going to be remembered as a family-ending disaster. She told me that she knows I can't replace that. We agreed to breakfast next week and joint therapy, the two of us, and her only condition was that I don't try at any point to save him from the suit, which I agreed to. Alana came to me even before my last post, saying she only drove so far because my now ex-husband pressured her into picking up the grocery order early for something he wanted to make. This also changed my perspective. I was under the impression that she was doing her own thing, but even my husband owned up to that, which ground my gears, but I put it together. Illegal driver in an expensive car, not insured, and under pressure, Alana drove, but I've come to realize that my ex-husband seems to have a tendency to like to pressure people. He's pressured me a lot too. I've seen a lot of bold assumptions that I hate Casey and that I vastly favor Alana, but I only feel the second part was ever accurate. I've never hated her. I was frustrated with her over something I've come to realize wasn't her fault. As of now, I'm just adjusting to a much quieter place and to my phone buzzing nonstop. I've only moved out for 5 days, and Alana has seemed so much less anxious, at least to me. As for Casey, I'll admit it. I hope she wins. I hope she gets her car and then some. As for the divorce, I don't want much material. I won't say no to it. I'd rather just have my share of joint savings and try to tackle my own issues, of which I guess I have more than I would have been willing to admit a month ago. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter that if she wants to move back in with me, she has to obey my rules? I'll keep the background short. I divorced my ex-husband when my daughter, Maria, was 10. I got the house, but I was a stay-at-home mom, so I had trouble making ends meet. So lots of budgeting after I got a job in my field again. My ex didn't have this problem, and he could spoil her. He spoiled her rotten, and it really affected our relationship. I would tell her that I can't afford to get her a $1,000 laptop, and it would cause a huge argument about how dad is better. I tried to get her a job. Argument happened. When she was 17, she decided to drop out from high school. I told her no. She told me it was her life and she can do what she wants. Another argument, and she left to go live with her dad permanently. I tried to contact her multiple times, but she told me I wasn't her mother anymore and to just leave her alone. She's now 21, and her dad has gotten remarried and basically kicked her out. She called me and we met up. She wants to move back in with me, and I told her only under these conditions. 1. She needs to get her GED. 2. She needs to be working a job at least 25 hours a week. 3. She needs to be looking into what her career will be and either go to a trade school or college. 4. She won't need to pay rent but needs to buy her own stuff. like clothes and personal items. 5. She needs to contribute to the shared areas. Chores, she would refuse to do them as a kid. And 6. Finally, no partying lifestyle. She needs to focus on getting her life together, not going out every night like she used to. Save that for the weekend. She called me a crazy jerk and said that I'm a horrible mother. I informed her that she made it clear she has no mother. She stormed out, and I'm getting angry texts now. You're the jerk. This poor girl had to go through her parents getting divorced when she was 10. Then she had her mom blaming her for the manipulation of the ex-husband. You gave up on a teenager. 21 is still so young, but my kids could come home at any age. You chose to have a kid, you chose who would be the father of that kid, and you chose how to raise her. Now you have the chance to get her back in your life and away from her dad, the guy who was so bad that you divorced him and who kicked out his own kid. But you'd rather be harsh and compassionless by demanding to control her life instead of being understanding and encouraging. It sounds like you were thrilled to throw "you're not my mother" back at her. She's been through so much at such a young age, and you're supposed to be her mom, not the agent of her karma. You're the jerk. I hope she lands on her feet, and I hope she knows that she was never the problem. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my parents live with me? About a year ago, I, 29 male, bought my first house. My parents generously offered me $20,000 towards the down payment, which they framed as a gift. I was extremely grateful, as they know that I had been saving for years, and I wanted a place to call my own. I'd even invited them to celebrate with me the day I got the keys, and everything seemed like it was fine. Fast forward to 3 months ago, my dad lost his job unexpectedly, and my mom's part-time work isn't enough to support them. They called me up one day and casually mentioned that they'd be moving in with me until they got back on their feet. I was stunned, as they had never even asked. They just assumed. When I hesitated, they reminded me of the $20,000 they had given me for the house and said it was time I paid them back by helping them out. This was news to me. They'd repeatedly assured me it was a gift, no strings attached, and that they were just happy to help me achieve my dream of homeownership. Now they were calling it a loan, even though there was never any mention of repayment, let alone interest or expectations of them moving in someday. I was hesitant but willing to talk about it, and I suggested that they stay temporarily. They dismissed this and said they'd be moving in indefinitely until things turn around, adding that they'd expect full access to the house and even suggested taking over my office as their bedroom. They also told me they'd like to have more say in how I run my home. After all, they did help me pay for it. Feeling cornered, I explained that while I love them and would gladly help in other ways, like paying some of their bills temporarily or letting them stay for a set period, I wasn't comfortable with them moving in indefinitely. This is my home, my sanctuary, and I've worked hard for it. They were furious, saying I was ungrateful and that families should support each other. They also claimed that since they invested in the house, that they're entitled to live in it as long as they need to. My dad even hinted that he'd take me to court if I didn't pay back their loan, though I'm fairly certain he was bluffing. Now, several family members have weighed in, saying that I'm the jerk for turning my back on my parents after they helped buy me the house. But I feel like they changed the terms after the fact, and I don't think it's fair to demand indefinite housing when that was never even part of the deal. So, am I the jerk for refusing to let my parents move in after they loaned me for the down payment? Not the jerk. It sounds like something pretty significant is missing here. How did your father go from being able to give you $20,000 a year ago to being on the verge of homelessness 3 months ago? I get the feeling there's more to this than just him losing his job. Regardless, if you let them come through that door, they will never leave. I don't know what's going on in terms of the dynamic between you and them, but they sound like they're very manipulative and entirely dishonest. Do not let them move in. You will regret it. They will never leave. Think about it. Always there, changing your home until it's theirs, until you get so fed up, you'll pack up and leave. They gave you the money as a gift, and now they mismanaged their finances and are reframing it, lying that they invested into your home. BS. Don't let them move in. Not the jerk. Am I the jerk for not taking my fiance's kid to trick-or-treating and went to a Halloween party instead? I, 29 female, am engaged to my fiance, 35 male. My fiance has a 7-year-old son from a previous relationship. His ex got pregnant on their first date, and they tried to make it work for the sake of the baby. She eventually left him when their son was 2, and I met my fiance about a year later. His ex can be very difficult, and my fiance avoids confrontation because he's terrified of losing time with his son. She constantly threatens to take him to court again and make him pay for it. It took years of court battles for him to even get 50-50 custody. Anyway, his son, his ex doesn't like me to refer to him as stepson or son, only by his first name, was with us last night. He was supposed to go trick-or-treating with his dad. I had a Halloween fundraiser party for work that I had to attend, as I was the MC, so I couldn't just cancel last minute. My coworkers and I were also doing a group costume, Golden Girls. I'm tall, so I was Dorothy, so there was no way to back out. My fiancé texted me saying he had to stay longer at work because his boss required it. I told him I couldn't take his son trick-or-treating and asked what I should do. He never replied. I then reached out to his ex, explaining, I know it's not your time, but could you do us a huge favor and take him trick-or-treating? I really can't miss this work event. She said no, stating, it's his time, he should figure something out, and added that she had plans with her new boyfriend and his kids, who are 9 and 11. Next, I texted my best friend, who has 3 kids around my fiancé's son's age, to see if she could help. Her kids have had playdates with him before when he was with us. She said it wouldn't be a problem, so she picked him up and I headed for the party. My fiancé later picked him up from her house, and his son told him he had a great time trick-or-treating with the other kids. My friend posted a photo of the kids trick-or-treating and tagged me and my fiancé. My fiancé commented, thanking her and her husband for saving the day. Meanwhile, my coworkers tagged me in posts from the company event. My fiancé's ex then lost it. She posted online, accusing me of being selfish and caring more about work than spending time with his son, claiming that I prioritized partying and drinking over being there for him. She even stole one of my tagged photos, saying that if I cared more about partying than taking care of a kid, I wasn't ready to be a stepmother or a mother. All the comments on her post sided with her, saying I should have canceled because it was just a party. My fiancé told me I did the right thing and that we should just ignore her. But was it a selfish move on my part? Not the jerk. But why is she able to see anything from your social media accounts? That's dumb on your part. Block her from everything. I'd be commenting on that post. You told me I would never be his stepmother or any sort of parental figure to him. You can't change your mind now to try and make me look bad when you made clear he's not my responsibility and he's here to be with his dad only and not me. Sorry if abiding by your rules somehow makes you mad. How do I tell my boyfriend that we're so broke we need to go to the food bank? I have a job and I have a side business. It's slow season for my business, so income is next to nothing. I recently changed jobs to a better paying one and steady hours, but I'll get a half paycheck on the 15th and my full pay will be on the 29th. My old job did not pay nearly enough or give me enough hours, so my last pay from them will only have 4 hours worth. I got paid 2 days ago. I paid about half the bills, and I have $80 to last me. I haven't gotten groceries or dog food, plus there are no more bills to be paid. I've asked my boyfriend to spend money wisely because I literally have no extra money. I spent the day yesterday looking for loose change around the house and taking in bottles and cans to pay a little more on bills. The boyfriend did fill up my gas tank so I could get to work for the next little while. Yes, my boyfriend should chip in more with the bills. He doesn't. Yes, it's a problem I'm working on. Either way, it doesn't solve my immediate problem, food. I found my local food bank and I can pick up a basket of food after applying for it. The catch? They want the IDs of everyone in the household, but only one of us have to be present. I obviously need his consent to take his ID. I'm beyond embarrassed admitting that my business has put me so behind on bills that I have to go to the food bank. I really don't know how to approach this. Any advice? Update. Here are some answers to questions that I keep seeing. 1. My business is selling baked goods at farmers markets. I sold at 4 main weekly markets over the summer season. It's slow during the fall before the Christmas season begins, which for us isn't until mid-November. It's not an MLM. 2. My boyfriend does have a full-time job. Where does his money go? Before he started living with me, he lived with his sister, helping her raise 3 kids. They rented a place together. He still pays her his portion of the rent and says he will continue to do so until their lease ends in the spring. But of course, with rising costs, he's worried about her being able to afford a place on her own with the kids. Their biological dad is a deadbeat and barely pays child support. My boyfriend does spend a lot of money on takeout though, and I'm trying to curb that habit. I'm not asking people for money. If anyone offers, I'll say no. I'm not going to ask for random handouts from strangers on the internet. I live in a smaller city. There's only one food bank. I can't go find another. I will most likely not be going there after someone pointed out I'd be taking food out of other kids' mouths. Now I can't get that image out of my head. I can probably find more loose change around the house and vehicle and get a Costco hot dog on the drive home for a while. I also have a friend who owns an egg farm. He's agreed to give me eggs he can't sell to the grocery stores for a while. I have no kids, just a dog. The dog will not starve. I'll make sure he has food before I do. It won't be the high-quality food for a while, but he has an iron stomach and he's not picky. Yes, there's much more to contribute to a household than finances. Unfortunately, with my depression, I find it difficult to get anything done around the house, and the boyfriend is happy to let everything slide as well. Yes, I'm in therapy, but sadly with my new job, it's going to have to go on hold for a while, as I had to give up my weekly slot as I'd be working. She doesn't have any vacancies outside of my working hours right now, and obviously, I really need this job. I don't follow the problem here. Let me play this back to you. You and your boyfriend live together, he doesn't chip in half of the bills, and you shoulder the majority of your cost of living? You can't afford food, so you need to go to the food bank, and for that, you need his ID? If that's the case, it's exactly what you need to say to him. We can't afford food. I found a solution and need your ID. The end. Yeah, I think I can see the problem. He's not just financially dependent on her, he's emotionally dependent as well. This is clear to me from her asking how she will break the news to him that they're beyond flat broke. She's in protective mode, which is why she's coming across as defensive. Reading between the lines, there's a lot going on here. Potentially the news will be overwhelming to him and lead to a reaction that she can predict, but is reluctant to tell us about. She's taken on the entire emotional work and financial work of the relationship, so it's not a partnership, it's a dependency, one which she herself may have to hit rock bottom to get out of if she's so unwilling to lay anything difficult on him. Perhaps she's always walking on eggshells around him. Would I be the jerk for not telling my husband I'm pregnant until after he's back from his trip? My husband is a stay-at-home dad to our 4-year-old daughter. He's an extremely devoted and loving dad who has barely spent any time away from her, and she's a major daddy's girl. In 2 weeks, he's going to his best friends from college for a whole week. He's going to be reuniting with his college friends that he hasn't seen or spent time with all together since our own wedding. He originally wanted the 3 of us to go, but I convinced him to just go by himself because I think being alone would make him enjoy it more, so he didn't have to do childcare. I think our daughter's too young for that big of a trip, for people she's only met once. And also, I'm planning on taking a week off work and would love to spend one-on-one time with her that we so rarely get. This morning, I learned that I'm pregnant. We've been trying for some time now, and we really want lots of kids. So I'm over the moon, and I know my husband and daughter will be too. I've not told my husband yet. My first pregnancy was a huge prepper, and when I learned I was pregnant, he went into overdrive with preparing, researching, and taking care of me. He was incredibly helpful and loving, and it was so sweet, but he also really worked himself up and got stressed. I don't think it'll be as bad with this one, but I could still see it being a lot. I honestly don't really want to tell him until after his trip in 3 weeks, even though it's a huge secret for me to keep. I know he'll potentially be upset, which with him is very tame, when he finds out I'd known for 3 weeks, but would get over it fast. My concern with telling him is I could honestly see it ruining his trip. I cannot imagine the constant texts asking me questions for the millionth times or sharing his most recent thoughts. I really want him to have a chill and fun trip and be able to decompress. And for myself, I want to be able to just focus on having a great time with my daughter. But I also don't want to just hide something so hugely important to our family from him, since he obviously deserves to know. I can't really decide. Would I be the jerk if I decided to wait to tell him until after his trip? Not the jerk, but definitely don't tell anyone else before him. OP. Oh yeah, definitely not telling anyone else. That's why I'm asking Reddit for advice on this, and not friends or family. Although I may tell my daughter right before he gets home, because I'm loving all of the surprise suggestions I'm seeing, especially with her wearing a big sister shirt. Update. So I hadn't planned to give an update so soon, but even though I'd planned on waiting until after my husband's trip, after a few days, it became clear to me I could not wait that long. He definitely knew something was up with me. I've been getting crazy excited and had been chomping at the bit to tell him. And honestly, it just didn't feel good to keep something that big from him for so long. We've been trying for this baby for close to a year now, and it's such happy news, and I decided it's just not worth it. But I still wanted to give him the surprise I had planned. I asked him to go out to the store to grab something really quick, and before he got home, I had my daughter put on the shirt I'd gotten her that had "Only Child" crossed out with "Big Sister" written underneath. When he came through the front door, she sprinted to him, yelling about how her shirt had a secret message for him. He was very taken aback, and it took him a second, but once it clicked, he was beyond excited, as was our very confused daughter once we told her. She started dancing around the house, singing about having a baby sister, which she is adamant it will be, and it was just a really good day. He's still going on his trip and has not even been close to as stressed as he was last time. If anything, he's looking forward to it even more now because he knows it's going to be a last chance to really decompress before things become a whole lot crazier. Thank you to everyone for all the lovely comments and responses that I got. I really appreciated them all. I showed my husband the post and admitted my original plans, and he got a big kick out of it. But he's very glad that I told him before the trip. Imagine your spouse is telling ridiculous lies about you on Reddit. People in your real life are finding out, and now everyone thinks differently of you. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap and come have a listen. You won't believe what happens next.